What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the podcast, man. This is UnashamedJay. And today, man, I want to talk about anger. I want to talk about anger that's lingering the world right now when it comes to just everybody, right? From children to grown-ups, everybody seems to be angry at something, right? Whether it's something new or whether it's something that you dealt with years ago when you was little. How did you get this way? How did anger seem to infiltrate your soul, right? Because we gotta all admit that at one point we were so angry at somebody where we wanted to really hurt them, right? We've all have felt that at least once. And if you don't, you're lying. But we all have felt that at least one time. Being so angry, right? That's what caused that thought to be in your head of wanting to harm someone because you're angry, right? You want to get back. You want to pay eye for an eye, right? So think about, where did you come from? Who you really are and what made you angry the way that you are. Because I'll say for me, man, shoot, wow. Well, I'm not just gonna say just because I was a young black kid and, we just saw the worst of the worst, right? People were, growing up in the hoods and stuff like that. That's not necessarily the case. My mom kept us fairly in good neighborhoods, right? But that didn't stop me from feeling angry and wondering why I was angry. Because it's not just your surroundings is what makes you angry. It's most likely what goes on inside of your home, right? That can get you angry. So what I would like to talk about is, like I said, my story. This is a real channel. We're going to keep it real with you. We'll talk about faith, and I'm going to keep it real. And I'm going to throw in things about me that's going to be hard to talk about. But since this is YouTube, and I believe a lot of people can learn from this, and I'm willing to share my story and also just give you guys insight on how to overcome these things, right? This is a real and open channel. So growing up, my real father wasn't there. Right? I had a stepfather who was there for the majority of the time. He was a straight up street dude, in and out, right? In and out of jail. But then one year, I believe I was 7 or 8, is when he came up to me and he was like, all right, son. Well, that's what he called me, right? So he was like, all right, son, I need you to be the man of the house. I need you to look after your mother because, I'm going away for a long time. So, of course, you're 7 and 8 and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't know what a long time is, but couldn't find out. Just say it's more than 10 years. So the only father figure that was in my life was gone for over 10 years from the time that I was about 6, 7, or 8 years old, right? So my real father never really came around, not that I can remember. And I just knowing that we never really had a relationship like that, right? So you got to think, 6, 7, 8 years old, the real dad's not there, your stepfather just went to prison, and then you just be like, man, I really got to be the man in the house. I got to step up. All right, I got to protect my mom. I got to protect my sister, people who are in this household, right? I got to be a man so quick. Got to grow up. And that's what I thought, right? And that's what I had to grow into. And I had to adapt, right, to my surroundings and to who I would let inside the house, everything, right? So I had to kind of grow up a little bit quick. And, but yeah, so that's what kind of gave me the head start of being angry. Because when I got older and I started realizing, okay, like, man, there's no father figure in my life that I can come to. Instead, if I don't want to talk to my mother about something, but, maybe my dad will talk to me about this, right? But that never really was the case, And people don't understand, like when you got a a stepdad who's a straight street dude, and most of his life was dealt in the street. He was a chief of one of the notorious gangs here in Illinois. He did his street dealing stuff with people, with different drugs. And, he made a lot of money doing it. But growing up, you still don't want your kid to be involved in that. But, that's what my mother chose to pick. And that's, I have no control over that, right? So, of course, during that time, I tried to reason and ask my mom, dang, how can you, this guy he's with you, he says he loves you, I heard it, right? But now he's gone, right? So not that he's only gone from you, he's away from me. So as a little boy, and I'm the only boy, right? I got 2 sisters. I put a little bit of anger in my heart, because how could somebody who was saying that they was going to be there with me, or be there for me, left, right? So of course, as you get older, you start to realize, oh, okay, he was doing this is why he got to jail, or this is why he went to prison, or, oh, okay, this is why he went away for so long. And you start to understand as you start to get older. So of course, just holding resentment with that in my life until I finally had to let it go, right? That's one instance where I believe God has stepped in my life later on, because with that incident, some people can't get over not having a father in their life. Some people go and do the worst things because they didn't have their dad in their life. I believe, and I always said this, right? I'm just being honest with you guys, that, man, if I had my father in my life who was just on me about sports, man, I could have been definitely, because I love basketball, I love football. Pretty much any sport that I really would touch, I would get good at it, right? Not knowing that, man, if I just had that father figure in my life that was consistently on me with training and, don't focus on the females, right? Don't look over there, just focus on your training. Get up, you eat, do your thing, and now you go to the gym, or now you go out to the field, right? You practice. You put all that other stuff behind you, and you just go out and do your thing. So that was one of my resentments that I had, but I had to forgive him of that, right? Remember, forgiveness not for the other person, right? It's for yourself to let that go and to realize that person is not worth you feeling this way for years, right? Especially if, they never apologized for it. They never came back and said, yo, man, I'm sorry, I never was there, or anything like that, right? I never got that. And that's the being God honest truth. And make a long story short, I years have passed, and I finally met my real father when I was 25 years old. I was staying at my grandmother's house at the time, and he came there looking for my sister, and he wasn't really looking for me. So that was my first interaction as a 25-year-old grown man that, okay, this guy that is my real father, like I said, I have a resemblance of him. He come here looking for my sister, not me. So when he saw me, of course, he looked shocked. It was just a weird interaction that me and him had that, where do we go from here? Or, dang, son, wow, you got tall, you got big, you got muscular, oh man, wow. It was more of a shock thing more than a, hey, son, I apologize for not being there, blah, blah, right? And I would have accepted that, right? Because, okay, if you would have said it, it would have came from your heart, right? And, okay, cool. We would have squashed it, and we would have been in a better type of relationship, right? But that wasn't the case. He was more speechless than anything, and he would just stand there and look at me as I'm looking at him. And of course, for the first couple of minutes, I was angry, right? I'm not going to try to be holy or nothing like that, but too holy, but nah, I wanted to put my hands on him. I'm just being honest, right? Because the reaction that he was showing me, it wasn't the reaction I was asking for or what I thought that he would give me, right? So, I felt I was doing well for myself. I was just going to move out of my granny house the year after that. I already had a place lined up and everything. Told him that. I think at the time I had a 2015 black on black Charger, a Hemi. And I was like, look, this is my car. Yeah, I'm doing good. I work at this company. Yeah, I'm doing good. And, it was nothing. It was flat, right? So I already knew then there was still a problem there, which, like I said, I don't know. So let's fast forward that. And I finally got into contact again with my father when I was 33, I believe, right? Or 32 or 33. And everything went well, right? We had got back in contact. We talked on the phone. He stays in a whole other state at this point, and we talked. I was obviously doing most of the talking, the first conversation, and just letting them know, like, look, this is where my head is at. Look, I'm a Christian now. Like, I'm doing this for real. I'm serious about my walk with Christ, and whatever you did, man, let's put that behind us. Whatever you didn't do, let's put that behind us, and let's grow together now, right? I believe my pop was 80 or 81 years old when I talked to him, so he's quite a bit of a old man, right? But still, right? It was just, he sounded excited to talk to me only because he could talk to me about things that he liked to do, right? He said he liked to hunt. He stays in a southern state, so, they're allowed to hunt and do a lot of deer hunting, shooting squirrels and all that other stuff. And, and I told him, I was like, oh, yeah, well, I go to a gun range here, and that's where I go. So we had that in common. But other than that, there still wasn't no, look, son, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was never that sincerity from him to this day, right? We haven't talked in a while, but that's okay. I'm all right. I done gave him up to God. I prayed about him. I don't hate him. None of that, right? I've forgiven him fully. I don't have no ill will towards my pop in my heart at all. But just, you know that when people are just not that interested, or they don't seem that they're grasping the point of growing and allowing their heart to speak. And his heart could have been, I always had a problem with you, or whatever reason, right? I mean, whatever he could have thought of in his heart could have been the reason why we wasn't close like that. Even during this time, it never was thank you for being my son. I'm proud of you. You stayed out of trouble. You don't do drugs. I'm glad that you found Christ. I'm glad you got a good job. You got a good head on your shoulders. Nothing, right? We just talk about daily life. And I know some of that could be because he probably didn't know how to do it, right? He's in his 80s, right? And probably didn't know what to do, but at the same time, our relationship just diminished, right, over time. And it got to a point where I texted him, I believe, twice. And he read it. I saw he had an iPhone. He read it and just never text back. So, and then he tried to call me, I believe, like 2 weeks after that point. And then I was at work, missed a call. Then he left a voicemail saying that we're playing phone tag or something like that. And I'm like, well, no. You just took a long time to respond to my text after you read it, right? So I don't know. And then it just kind of diminished after that. Not because I hate him or anything, like I stated before. So I'm saying is my anger, I'm telling you all that to say is my anger back then. If I was still that angry at my dad, I probably would have cussed him out, right? I really would have probably put my hands on him. But I just remember what scripture says is that we have to honor our mother and our father, right? And that's the first promise that God gave to us, is so that way we may live a long life, right? So I believe in that, and I'm not going to disrespect my daddy. I'm not going to disrespect just who he is, right? Because me and him don't have a close relationship. that's okay. And I'm perfectly fine with that. So that's just one instance where I'm giving you guys a piece of my story as to why. Another reason why I was so angry. Another reason why I was so angry is because all of the missed opportunities I felt that I had in my life, that if I was taking that serious, if I wasn't playing too much, or if I wasn't focused on this female or that female, that I would be a lot further in my life. And during that time, that's what I felt for real. And not knowing that, dude, stop blaming everybody else and just blame yourself for not taking it so serious. Because if you did, then you would have left this female alone. You would have left that one alone. Or you wouldn't have let that person deter you from your dream and what you wanted to do. So that was another piece of anger, right? Being mad at myself for putting myself in a lot of situations that it didn't have to be. So, of course, I felt like that was wasted time on my end because, I felt like nothing came out of that situation. Not anything that was prosperous, I would say, right? But that was just another thing that had kept me angry. Knowing why I kept moving so much, right? I couldn't stay consistent and being around anybody for so long, gaining a close friendship and then having to move, and then we just end up stop talking, and being depressed about different life situations. When I finally moved out on my own, I stayed on my own, and thank God I've never had to move back in with anybody. I've been on my own ever since, but I struggled for like the first 2 years, and the only person I really knew was my mother. And she would hear me cry, she would hear me get mad. She knew that I would isolate myself, and like I said in the other video, I would drink a lot. And to get rid of that anger, or to put my mind at ease, and that's what I thought would work for me, but all that did was just make it worse. You drink too much, I don't care what nobody says, that's killing you. If you drink too much, right? It's only gonna go to your liver, and you get liver failure, or you get alcohol poisoning. You don't want that, right? So just all these different things that I can sit back and think about as to why a young man growing up in his 20s and his 30s would be angry at somebody, or be angry at himself, or be angry at the situation that you put yourself in. And we cannot do that. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to ask God to help us forgive others, because it really is an act of God that we forgive, because it's one thing that God told us to do, that He forgives us if we forgive others, right? We have to forgive if God wants to forgive us. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's true. It's in His Word. So we have to forgive, right? So we have to learn how to forgive ourselves for things. And it's okay. And when you get to a point of understanding and contentment, then you realize, okay, this is okay. All right, I'm still in a good situation right now. I could be worse. Could I be better? Anybody could be better, right? But as of this moment, God, I'm good. You gave me everything that I need, and I have it here, right? I have my close family. I have my wife. I got a son, right? I got all these people around me who's supposed to be around me, and having a good job, having a car that I like. And these are all just tangible things, and I don't get hung up on that. I really don't. I'm a very humble man. I know that God can take all the stuff away from me at an instant. But I'm saying is I'm content, right? I'm happy where I'm at, and it can only go better from here. So anger is one thing that I want us all to address and get rid of, because it's only hurting yourself. You're not hurting the other person, you're hurting yourself. You get angry so much, right? You're going to do something out of emotion, erratic, and you're going to do something that you're going to regret, and it's going to cost you your life, right? Whether you do something to put you in jail, or you're going to do something to put you in the grave because of your anger. So we can't let our emotions ride us into the dirt. We cannot. We got to be rational. We got to be level-headed. We got to be sober-minded and understand that these are tricks, right? These are the arrows that the Bible says that Satan throws at us, right? The fiery darts, right, of the devil. So we have to watch ourselves. We have to keep ourselves in a position of sober-mindedness. We have to know that this is a trick from the enemy, or this is just something that I'm going through that's been embedded in me for 20, 30, 40 years, however old you are, right? But one thing we have to do is forgive and let go of that anger. Don't be angry and do something that you are going to regret doing. It's not worth it. Trust me, I know. It's a lot of things that I could have did that could have, put me in prison for a long time, buddy. Let me tell you, a long time. And I mean that. But through God's help, man, he really helped me. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful that today I'm sitting there talking to you guys, telling you a part of my life, and gonna continue to, because this is the only way that people are going to relate to you, is if you bring out your story, so that way they can relate and understand that, hey man, God is real. This ain't a joke. If you really seek God, he will be found. He really would. Some people say, well, I've been, no, you be for real with it. Don't just say you're seeking God and your heart is telling you don't seek God, right? Don't seek God and yet you're saying, well, I don't even know if this is even real. You have to, the Bible says those who come to God must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. So you must believe that he is. He is Lord. He is our comforter. He is our peace. He's our guide, our Lord, our God, that I am, right? The Ancient of Days, Jehovah. That's who he is. So once you know and that he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him, he just told you, you have to diligently continue to keep seeking God. So he's going to reward you for that. I promise you, because my life is living proof right now. So I thank you all for listening to the podcast. Thank you for this awesome time, man, for you guys to listen. God bless you, and I'll see you all in the next video.